just awesome. But all right, so you were talking about trades, and it's important that we talk about that because there's a lot going on right now. You guys are going to be watching this on Thursday, probably hours or so, either before the trade deadline happens or a couple hours afterwards. But in our current world, Tobias Harris got traded overnight, or agreed. The trade was agreed to for him to go along with Boban Marjanovic. I'm forgetting who else is in this trade. It got sent to the Philadelphia 76ers. It is a huge trade. The 76ers are sending help me out on I'm it's lose I'm focused on Tobias.
Oh, they're
And
sending Landry Shamet, which is the big name.
yes, I like him. I like
You
him.
see, and that's the controversial thing for me with the trade.
Hmm.
So they're sending Landry Shamet, a bunch of picks. They're out of the pick business. They don't need any young players
Yeah,
anymore.
they trusted the process enough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're sending Wilson Chandler, who is not playing a whole lot right
Hmm.
now.
He's there for
Uh,
the money. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
he's there to add, to make it work financially.
right. And he's still a solid NBA player. When he's healthy, they might be able to get something out of him. He's played with Gallinari before. We'll see. He might wind up moving to another team. Who knows? But Landry Shamet is the big one.
Hmm.
That's very, very
And then
interesting.
all of the picks too.
And all of the picks, of course, the picks. But for me, what's interesting is they're a team that needs shooters, and they're sending a very young, very promising rookie shooter out to LA, which could, in the long run, we could be looking at this and saying Jerry West got him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
But I mean, it's a
I
great
think
pickup
we
for
could say
Philly right now on the surface.
I think we might say that if Tobias doesn't resign. I think that I mean we might say that then, but they
Well,
gave
this
up.
leads me to my first question with you, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So we've talked on this show about how Ben Simmons needs to add to his game. To the free throw shooting needs to get better first and foremost, similar to Lonzo Ball, so that he can at least be aggressive. And he needs to get a semblance of a way to punish you from at least 17 feet, right?
Right.
But that aside, with Jimmy Butler, who we've covered a lot on this show, has a lot of responsibility to win on a major team, and
Yes.
Joel Embiid, who has had his defensive struggles this year in the pick and roll,
Yes.
getting Tobias Harris, I feel like on paper, if these players are what they think they should be in the championship conversation or bust from here on out. Now, acquiring a player this late, not this year. That's not fair. But going forward, if they were to re-sign, what else do they need? I mean, the lineup is crazy, really, when you look at it.
It really is. I would tend to agree with you there that they should be in that place. Now, like I said, they do have to re-sign Tobias Harris because he's a free agent.
And
Uh,
Jimmy.
yeah, and Jimmy, of course.
And
So
and real quick, we should note that the LA Clippers opened up a lot of cap space, which means that they could literally have traded Tobias Harris for Jimmy Butler. That is not entirely
right,
impossible, right? That
right,
they wind up with Jimmy and Kawhi Leonard or something.
yeah.
So yeah, and they have Shea Gilgeous-Alexander out there, and then that squad starts to look like a really, really good team already, depending on what happens with their draft picks.
Yeah.
So they do have to re-sign both, and Jimmy has options now, depending on
And
where he goes.
also Kawhi Leonard then gets to be in that conversation for them or someone who they could acquire in the offseason.
Yeah.
They would need more people to probably to tempt him to come there at that point, but it would then become a part of it for sure. But I would agree with you. I do think that this move puts the 76ers in a place where they on paper look like they could be the best team in the East. Obviously, Milwaukee and Toronto are playing great basketball, and they have been throughout the season. They've been very consistent. But I mean, I do think this happens. And we talked about, and you mentioned Ben Simmons. And I think ultimately this trade gets to be as much about him as it is about anybody on this
Yeah.
team, right? Because I think the major question is does Tobias does the acquisition of Tobias Harris put more pressure on Ben Simmons to develop his game than anybody else, right? Ben Simmons is the point guard. He is the guy who has the ball in his hands the majority of the time. He's the guy who is looked at as the distributor more than anyone on the team, right? He also seems to be the most, for lack of a better term, 76er for life type of a player on that team, right? To
Hmm.
me, he seems to be that guy. This still feels like it's Ben Simmons's team to me, right? Even
Okay.
though even though he's not maybe the best, even though Embiid's the best player probably overall, um, it still feels like it's Ben Simmons' team. And
Hmm.
maybe that's the point guard thing or whatever. But and also Ben Simmons is probably the guy who still has the most to gain. I'm not to gain,
The
to
biggest
add,
upside. Yeah, yeah,
to his
yeah.
game to become who we think he can be. So when you put all of these pieces around him, the way the 76ers management has done at this point, now everybody's going to look even closer at Ben Simmons when he won't take a three. They're
Hmm.
going to look even closer at him when he can't knock down a free throw, because you now have people around you who make you a serious contender. I just said the process is done. Trusting the
Yeah.
process is over. The
Well, in
process
terms
has
of
been
five-man
trusted.
lineups, there aren't too many teams. I mean, outside of Golden State, there's
Yeah.
not too many teams that is fielding Ben Simmons, JJ Redick, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. That is
Yeah.
a monster
You
lineup.
have
You can
three
five
guys.
out that lineup.
Yeah. You have three guys who are legitimate 3-point threats
Hmm.
on the team. You can make the
I'll say
argument it's
four.
four.
Yes,
You can
four.
make the argument it's four. Joel Embiid's numbers are down from deep today, but I mean he's still drawing somebody to lift their hand and to bite if he pump fakes.
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
so
And which is the key, right? Like you
that's
look,
the
that's the
key.
thing about five out. It's not about one guy goes in and everybody else shoot threes. It's the spacing creates so many opportunities for you to make so many different kinds of plays.
Absolutely. So because Ben Simmons can easily be the Giannis in their five out look.
Correct.
So I mean, Joel Embiid is not quite the shooter that Brooke Lopez has become,
No,
but
Brooke is a monster. He got Hall of Fame limitless. But
yes,
the thing that I think it puts more pressure on Ben than to shoot is to hit the free throws.
yes,
Because the thing about Giannis is he's not scared to shoot. He
no,
shoots
no,
and he
he'll
makes some
shoot.
shots,
Yeah, he'll shoot enough to
right?
make you keep you honest.
100%, right? And make
Yeah,
he'll give you that feeling like I can't believe you hit that. And
yeah,
that's all you need. You don't need to turn into even LeBron James, who's become a guy that when he's hot, you have to play him for the three, and you
yes,
just hope he doesn't get hot. You don't even have to get that far. But
hmm,
Giannis, more than anything, wants to dominate the paint.
yes,
And
yes,
he dominates the paint better than I've seen, particularly since I want to say young LeBron James.
yeah. I would agree.
Um,
I would agree.
but I would actually probably more liken it to Shaq, to be honest with you. He's like perimeter Shaq in a way that LeBron was perimeter Shaq in a way when he was super young. I think Giannis is in a way a worse version of that because LeBron was going to the basket super fast and dunking and finishing layups and getting free throws. Giannis is dunking on three people at a time sometimes. It's crazy.
And the other thing that makes him so amazing, and I don't want to turn this into a Giannis conversation, but the year he's having is easy for that to happen.
Yeah,
But um Giannis, Giannis's post game is what to me even takes it to another level,
100%.
is because this guy has literally an elite level back to the basket post game.
Hmm.
Elite level.
I
Like
agree.
it
I think it's
ends
very underrated.
it ends up with him facing up at times, but it can start off with the back down, and he's just so fast and so long.
He's fast, powerful. He has the length,
Yes.
giant hands to do whatever he
And
wants.
he's nasty,
Yeah,
which is another thing.
which
You know,
helps.
he has a nasty on court mentality. He
Yep.
wants to throttle you, and I think that is really, honestly, that's one of the biggest differences between him and Ben Simmons.
Which is why I'm glad we brought up Giannis in this
Yeah.
conversation because I think the pressure is on Ben to take a lot from Giannis now because
Hmm.
now you're in more of a situation that Giannis is in,
Hmm.
and you need to do those things. Ben has a good post game.
Yeah.
He's solid back to the basket, and this is buoyed by the fact that he's going to have the mismatch most of those times.
Yes.
You know what I
He's
mean?
gonna have the biggest mismatch night in, night out.
Correct, Mundo.
Yeah.
So being in that situation with the mismatch, he can go to the basket, get stopped, look like he's going to bring it back out, and then post up, which we
Hmm.
see Russell Westbrook does that a lot. And Giannis does that sometimes, where he'll go to the basket and the attempt isn't there. They'll collapse on him and then rotate back out, and he'll see that and then just post the guy up and turn around on him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And Ben
yeah,
has to acquire that aspect. And if Ben does acquire that aspect, I think this team is a championship contender because,
I think they definitely are.
yeah,
Yeah.
Ben will ascend into perennial all star, near MVP ish kind of
Yeah.
category,
Hmm.
maybe third tier, right? Like, so if top tier is Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, right below that is Paul George, I think Ben will get right below Paul, well, the way
No,
Paul is playing right now.
I think he could get above Paul, and I think he could get into that area of Durant and
I don't
Steph
think it's
and James
impossible, but I'm
Harden.
talking about the next step for him is to get to right
I
beneath
honestly
Paul
think he could
Pierce.
make a massive leap and leap that next tier. If if he
He got a lot of work to do,
if Ben Simmons can be a 75% free throw shooter
for sure.
and make 29 to 32% of his threes.
That's a long way off if you've seen that jumper though.
But who's seen his jumper? His
I've
jumper's on a
seen it.
milk carton.
I've seen it. It's horrible.
Oh
It's
my
like
God.
like when you go to 2K Jump Shot Creator, he put the release on one side and the stance on the other side,
He got Rachel Demeter shot base.
mixed with Andre Robertson's, and that's the
Mixed with
deep
Kendrick
deep
Perkins
cut for the
release.
2K fans. It's hard. It starts over here, it goes over there, it decides to go halfway back over there. That's not gonna cut it. That's not gonna cut it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think he's trying to prevent. How in the world did the 76ers end up with two guys with jump shots that are just they're something's wrong mentally with their jump shot? Like the way I
Well,
don't understand it.
Markel Fultz had a situation that's
Yeah, that
still
hurt. He
kind of
got hurt. Yeah, he got hurt.
he got hurt, and there's also the rumors that he had the motorcycle accident,
Right. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
there's good reason to believe that that's true. So,
Yes.
and
Yes.
which is another side thing here. They got to do something with that boy. They
Yeah,
got to
they do.
figure out the Markel Fultz situation because at this point, if he was just a slightly better version of his best self in his
Hmm.
rookie year, they
Yeah.
can use that. They
Yeah.
can actually use an athletic backup point guard to Ben
Just
Simmons.
come in and get buckets, man.
Yeah.
But